Patriots Nation, the vibe in Foxborough right now is wild. There's a new level of respect around the NFL, but also a big flashing warning sign inside the building. That primetime win shook up the standings, rattled direct rivals, and at the same time exposed a dangerous soft spot on this roster. There are heavy front office decisions on the table, a possible veteran arrival, controversy after a hit on an offensive star, and two unlikely names suddenly forcing their way into the defensive rotation. All of that in one night that changed the weight of this season. You're not going to believe what we've got today, so sit down, hit that like button, and let's dive straight into it, family. Patriots fans, do you really have a sense of what that Thursday night win over the Jets means? It's not just another primetime victory, it's a clear message to the entire league. New England is back in control of the AFC East and fully in the heavyweight race for the number one seed in the conference. At 9-2, before Sunday's games even start, Mike Vrabel's team is looking down at everybody in the standings and putting massive pressure on the Colts and Broncos not to slip over the next few weeks. Look at this picture for a second. The Patriots are 3-0 in the division, while the Bills are 2-2. That means if these two finish tied later on, that tiebreaker starts leaning toward New England, and that's just the beginning. The schedule in front of them is the kind that separates the real contenders from the teams just happy to be in the hunt. Bengals on the road, Giants at home, another showdown with the Bills in a game that looks like a de facto AFC East final, then the Ravens away, Jets away, and Dolphins closing everything out in Foxborough. There are brutal road trips, hostile crowds, and high-leverage matchups, but also a huge opportunity to lock up that number one seed. Now imagine the postseason running through Gillette Stadium again. Cold weather, wind swirling, a packed house losing its mind on every third down, opposing quarterbacks trying to adjust protections with frozen hands while this defense flies around. That's exactly the scenario this run is starting to set up. Meanwhile, Kansas City, sitting at 5-4, is just trying to hang on to a playoff spot, taking on Denver and Indy in back-to-back weeks, and possibly helping or hurting New England's position without the Patriots even stepping on the field. In other words, even on their off days, the Pats are playing the conference with a remote in their hand. So the question that nobody wanted to ask in August, but that you just can't dodge now, is simple. Does this team look like an AFC favorite to you? Because if they keep this pace, secure home field advantage, and continue to dominate the division, the narrative shifts fast. It stops being about nice bounce-back season and becomes something much bigger. The ceiling moves from just get back to the playoffs to we're talking bye-week, conference championship, Super Bowl run. So drop it in the comments. Do you think this campaign is sustainable, or are you still worried about a specific part of this roster? Because that's exactly where the next storyline comes in, showing why, even with an elite record, there's one sensitive spot that might define how high this team can really go. When we say this Patriot surge has been impressive, we mean it. But there's one detail that, for anyone watching this team closely, flips on a bright red warning light. The secondary took a serious hit when Kyle Duggar was moved. And even if the front office has its reasons for the trade, the on-field impact is real. The group got younger, faster, and thinner. Jalen Hawkins, Craig Woodson, Brendan Schooler, Del Pettis, and now John Saunders Jr. bring energy, speed, and upside, but they don't bring what Duggar was. That veteran tone setter in the middle of the defense, a communicator who's been through big games and knows how to close the back end when it matters most on a 9-2 team fighting at the top of the AFC. That kind of presence is priceless. The fan base felt it right away. Just scroll through the post-game comments. A ton of excitement about the record, but also plenty of people saying, we still need a veteran back there. This defense is good, but it needs someone to organize things. Vrabel has to get a true leader in the secondary. And honestly, they're not wrong. Every great Patriots defense from any era had that experienced guy on the back line who lined everybody up, made the adjustments, and prevented small mistakes from turning into explosive plays. Right now, that piece is missing. That's where the name that's been floating around the league for weeks fits perfectly in Foxborough. Justin Simmons. The veteran who spent years starring in Denver and played 2024 with the Falcons is still on the market. ESPN analysts, insiders, and cap guys keep listing him as one of the best remaining free agents this deep into the season. What's more, he's already been linked to teams like the Eagles and Cowboys, franchises that see themselves as being in a win-now window, the exact type of situation Simmons has reportedly been looking for. And that's exactly what New England is right now. A true contender, not just a feel-good story. Schematically, the fit looks almost too perfect. Vrabel wants versatility, clear communication, and guys who can execute multiple coverages without getting lost when offenses shift. Before the snap, Simmons has basically been the quarterback of the secondary his entire career. He diagnoses routes early, alerts linebackers, corrects alignments, adapts to complex motions, and still brings real production, interceptions, big tackles, a real presence against the run. There isn't another free agent safety out there who offers this whole package at this stage of the year. And when you line everything up, young secondary, open title window, favorable market, a veteran who matches exactly what you're missing, it's hard not to see the move staring you in the face. While other teams are still considering whether it's worth investing in a veteran safety, the Patriots are the one contender with the most to gain by acting fast on Justin Simmons. The price tag now is almost certainly way lower than it would have been in March. You can build a short, incentive-based deal, and the on-field impact is basically plug and play. From a football perspective and from a narrative standpoint, the headline writes itself. You turn a weakness into a strength overnight and send a message to the entire conference that New England isn't just happy with 9-2, they're going all in. And that wasn't even the wildest part of the night, because the next storyline involves a marquee offensive name and a controversial hit that could dominate the entire week in Foxborough. If there's one thing this offense proved against the Jets, it's that when they need someone to carry the load, Stefon Diggs is that guy. He didn't score a touchdown, sure, but 9 catches, 105 yards, and constant impact on third downs say everything about how quickly he's become the centerpiece of this passing game with Drake May. And the most impressive part is that this is happening in his very first season in Foxborough, after signing a big money deal that came with a ton of pressure and a lot of people wondering if he was still that all-pro level difference maker in prime time with the whole country watching. He answered that question loud and clear. But this game was about more than just production. There was tension, a big hit, and a moment that's going to be talked about all week. In the second quarter, after a short grab, Diggs was basically slammed to the turf by Jarvis Brownlee Jr. It drew an immediate flag for unnecessary roughness, fired up the Patriots sideline, and put the officials right in the spotlight. Now the league office is going to take a closer look and decide whether Brownlee gets fined. And honestly, with the way the NFL has been handing out punishments lately, that feels almost inevitable. Just last week, we saw fines over $6,000 for a face mask and a massive $100,000 penalty for a hip drop tackle. The message is clear: the league doesn't want those kinds of hits. And Diggs' response? That might be the most important part of the whole episode. He took the shot, got up, asked for the ball, and kept attacking. That mindset says a lot about the role he's taken on in this locker room. There were people saying he might demand too much attention or tilt the chemistry in the wrong way. What we're seeing is the opposite. He's become a confidence booster for Drake May, stretched the field, brought juice to the huddle, and on top of everything, looks like an emotional anchor when things get heated. That's why so many people are saying this duo might be exactly what New England needed to restore its offensive identity. At the same time, the league is going to debate fines and suspensions. The Jets are going to try to justify their level of physicality, and you know this hit is going to run on every highlight show. But in Foxborough, the conversation is already shifting. How do you keep this attack evolving and even more dangerous heading into those heavyweight matchups that decide playoff seeding? Because if Diggs keeps playing at this level and May keeps stacking games, the rest of the AFC needs to wake up. And hang on, because what comes next goes straight to the heart of this defense and shows how some unlikely pieces are quietly changing the entire trajectory of the season. That win over the Jets just made it even more obvious that Mike Vrabel is building something bigger than just a competitive roster. He's shaping a culture where absolutely anybody, no matter their draft status, has to be ready to step in and swing a game. Few players represent that better right now than Del Pettis. Not long ago, he was just another young safety fighting for snaps. Now, he's becoming a symbol of readiness. Against New York, he showed up exactly when the team needed him, including that perfect pass breakup on 4th down late in the game that basically slammed the door on any Jets comeback. Vrabel's message afterward was simple. He's a guy who takes advantage of his opportunity, and that leads to more opportunity. You really couldn't script a better line to define this new Patriots era. But Pettis isn't doing this alone. Elijah Ponder, another undrafted player that a lot of people never penciled into the final 53, is starting to carve out a real role in the rotation one sack against the Buccaneers. Another one now against the Jets, wrapping up Justin Fields in a key fourth quarter moment. He's that type of player who sneaks up on you if you're not paying attention. For a team that moved on from Keion White and needed depth along the front, this is exactly the kind of contribution that keeps the energy and physicality up without a drop-off. And you can feel how the locker room reacts to it. Robert Spillane praising Pettis publicly, calling him consistent and reliable. When a veteran linebacker goes out of his way to highlight an undrafted kid like that, it means something. These contributions don't always pop off the stat sheet the way they should, but they matter a lot. Once the calendar flips to the do-or-die months, teams that make deep playoff runs always have those unsung heroes who show up at just the right time, and the Patriots are starting to stack exactly that kind of player. It reinforces something Vrabel said when he went out of his way to thank the staff and the roster for how they handled a short week. The focus, discipline, and adaptability of this group are on a different level. That's not coach speak. It's a pattern. Road trip to Tampa, tough environment, quick turnaround, game plan installed by Monday, convincing win on Thursday. This team has answers. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 4 storylines hit you the hardest today? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because this stretch run has all the ingredients to be something special.